Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio with...
Hey, it's Alek. How's it going?
You didn't do the thing. Eddie did the thing perfectly. Blame Eddie. I pointed at Eddie. He just said his name. Alek, come on.
Oh, okay.
Let's try this again. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio with...
Alek.
There we go.
Hi.
No. That's the joke with that. He just kept saying, Eddie, I'm telling you. All right.
Okay.
Anyways, that's probably out of context for you who haven't seen that episode. Regardless, we're not here to talk about just random things like that. Yeah, how are you liking the new studio?
It's looking amazing, and it's very comfortable, not
Yeah.
cold, so it's all good. I like it.
What? The old studio was in a cold area?
We live in Minnesota.
Like
Come
a
on.
basement? Yeah, that's true. All right, so on today's episode, we're going to be talking about making a unique deck with unique combos, essentially. So, like, how do you go about doing that? Maybe, like, just some idea starters for you and saying, like, what our thought process are, because both of us like unique decks. I'd say that, I mean, for sure, you have absurdly unique decks that when you pull out a new commander, I'm just like, I gotta wonder what this deck is really about. Okay,
it's always a fun process.
It's definitely not about what the actual commander does. So Alek is a great person to kind of pick your brain on and figure out what's going on with that.
Yeah, well, and like I brought a couple of examples today, and I think you've already generated a few where looking at like some examples of like when you're looking to try to build a more unique combo deck or introduce some unique combos into like a more general deck as well. Ways of approaching how to do that and things to think about when you're trying it.
Absolutely. Sounds good. All right. So the first one that you wanted to bring up, I think, is Spike It.
Oh, yeah. This is one of my most favorite equipments. And like generally, I'm not the most pro Voltron style player. So
you're an anti-Voltron player.
I wouldn't say I'm totally
Every
anti,
single time you sit across from a Voltron player, you're like, God, take them out immediately just to show them.
Well, that is true to a certain extent. But, when I found this particular card, it just kind of like started sparking so many different ideas in my head. So this is one of my favorite equipment for sure.
All right. So Spike It is an artifact equipment that costs 2, equip creature gets +1/+1, and has all names of non-legendary creature cards in addition to its name. Many players out there be like, what is this? This is not a card I can use. This is useless. Why would I ever do that? But you say no.
Yeah. Well, and like it got some additional attention too with the recent printing of Psychic Paper, the Doctor Who ancillary set. Which
let's read that one real quick. Do you have that one in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay,
like similarly, it's a 2-cost artifact equipment with equip 2. Slightly different when Psychic Paper becomes attached to a creature, you choose a creature card name and a creature type. And then that equipped creature has Ward 1, it can't be blocked, and its name and creature type are the last chosen name and creature type. So slightly different, but interacts with some of the combo elements that I've chosen in a similar way. Yeah. So
both off-the-wall cards that you typically don't see in any decks at all, except you're like, oh my gosh, this just got printed. It's perfect.
Yes, it does some pretty amazing things. So the particular combos that I've identified or I've worked with for these particular cards usually have to do with connecting with the fact that these equipment give the equipped creature like different names.
Yep.
For example, so some interesting ways of doing like mass removal might be like Declaration in Stone.
Gross.
Which is a 1 and a white sorcery, which says exile target creature and all other creatures its controller controls with the same name as that creature. That player investigates for each non-token creature exiled this way. So if you equip it on a creature and you target that creature with Declaration in Stone, it basically exiles every single non-legendary creature on the battlefield, which
includes lands.
It can include lands and
everything.
Lots of other things that have the creature type, so can be kind of crazy. You got similar things with like Echoing Truth, Detention Sphere, Deputy of Detention, Banishments, Sever the Bloodline. All these cards do very similar things.
Basically it's getting rid of things that have the same name, essentially.
Yeah, focusing on that name component. And then you've got some more interesting cards like Eradicate, which is a 2 black sorcery that says remove target non-black creature from the game. Search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for all cards with the same name as that creature and remove them from the game. Then that player shuffles their library. Now, obviously, you don't want to do this to yourself. This is not great. But if you have Arden either in your deck or as your commander,
and Arden is your commander for this deck, is that right?
For my Spike It commander deck, yes, it is. It is the commander, but Arden is a legendary creature core scout for 2 and a white that says at the beginning of your combat on your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipment you control to target permanent or player. So it doesn't have to just be your own.
Gotcha.
And
so that way you get around kind of essentially, because that might be the crux, the problem that some people have is, okay, like I got this equipment, how do I actually get this to this player?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a few other cards.
Yeah, could attach it to one of your creatures and then swap control essentially.
Yeah. Or Magnetic Theft, I think, also does that.
There you go.
But basically you get this equipment on your opponent's creature and then you eradicate it, and that basically removes every single non-legendary creature from play, if they're play, and from their deck.
From their entire deck.
So if you go up against like
most
a
decks
green
are just,
Stompy deck, then they're kind of
their deck is just done at that point.
And then you've even got a couple other elements where like you know things that care about names. There's a couple of like more stacksy ways of approaching this. Like you got 2 cards, Cornered Market and Bazaar of Wonders, that work really well for this. So
let's read Cornered Market real quick. This isn't one that is typically played in Commander.
I really haven't seen it much else in other.
I have never seen this in play. All right, enchantment for 2 and a white. Players can't play spells or non-basic lands with the same name as a card in play.
So
players can't play anything.
Pretty much. I mean, like the fact that legendary permanents obviously get around this, but regular creatures, it's going to be a difficult time to get that down.
Gosh,
and
again,
what
percentage of decks is this in? I mean, 0, but like, is it like 10 decks? Is there 10 decks out there that have this card?
That's a good question. I think really probably only thing that has Spike It or the Psychic Paper.
That's
kind
of funny. All right, and then Bazaar of Wonders, another card that I've never seen in play in a Commander game. Enchant World, so you know it's old. 5 mana. Comes into play, remove all cards on graveyards in the game. Whenever a spell is played, counter it if it has the same name as a card in play or in any graveyard, essentially.
Yeah. So a similar effect, basically, but basically prevents your opponents from playing creatures with non-legendary creatures, essentially. So
gross.
Yeah. Or it counters them. So
that's just absolutely amazing. I absolutely love it.
And then there's like a few other cards that allow you to get like intermittent regular effects throughout the game. Which are interesting, like Evil Twin, for example, which is a shapeshifter creature for 2 blue and a black, and it's a clone effectively, so it enters the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. But it has an additional line of text where it says this creature gains 2 black and tap and destroy target creature with the same name as this creature.
Blue, black, and tap.
Yeah, blue, black. Sorry,
blue,
black, and tap. And so basically, this means you equip Spike It onto this Evil Twin, and now it has the name of all non-legendary creatures, so it can just destroy any creature it wants for its active ability.
Exact opposite of Savo Bao. I can't remember what that was. Whichever one that legendary from like the old invasion block is. It's like destroy a legendary. This is like, no, destroy non-legendary.
Yeah, exactly. So leads to some interesting effects and just can continually to tap throughout the game, and you can even add on to more shenanigans of like untap effects and things like that to make this even better, but it's 1 card.
Absolutely.
And then finally, another thing that you can gain a lot of advantage on is an artifact called Bubbling Cauldron.
Again, another Commander staple.
Yeah, totally. Which that's an artifact for 2 colorless, and it's got 2 abilities. 1 in tap. Sacrifice a creature, you gain 4 life. It's like fine. It's aristocrats. Sometimes you see it in those decks.
Yeah.
But then it's got another special ability for 1 in a tap, and it says sacrifice a creature named Festering Newt. And that says each opponent loses 4 life, and then you gain life equal to life lost this way. So, not a lot of decks really focus on having that Festering Newt.
That's a singleton format, so they're going to build an entire deck around just getting Festering Newt out again.
And it's not a super relevant creature anyway.
It's just hilarious.
But with Spike It, basically any creature that you control, you sacrifice
to
this
Festering Newt
with the Spike It attached, and then
you're gaining 12 life. Yeah. You're draining 4. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So it's like a small Gray Merchant of Asphodel, basically.
Yep.
But so you've got this small pile of combos, right? And it's great to get these things off, and it does some fun things. But like the question comes down to like, how then do you fit this really into a deck?
Yes.
It's not like the entire deck is completely built around this process. There's only, what is this, like 12 cards?
Sure.
You're really thinking about for the deck, so it's really just fills in a theme. For my particular deck, I focus actually on gaining incremental effects through tokens and legendary creatures. So obviously with the last couple of years where legendary creatures have just exploded in playability for Commander, just filling your deck full of legendary creatures has become easier.
I mean, does this deck even work against Eddie's Eska deck or no?
Not the most. You might have some blind spots for sure with like how your combos work out, but that's kind of the point, is that like you build this deck full of legendary creatures that work well together, that won't be hit when you target the field with your Declaration Stone, for example. It's kind of like a one-sided board wipe in that case if your opponents are playing mostly non-legendary creatures.
Yep.
And so it allows you to gain that incremental advantage and just kind of like keep pushing your game plan forward while removing the field.
Yeah.
And then similarly, tokens don't have names that are hit by or are included as part of Spike
because
Hit.
those aren't like creature names technically. It's just tokens are weird.
So the more tokens you can flood the field with, then those are also not impacted by the Spike Hit combos. And generating tokens through things such as like Jadar, for example, is a great way, because then Jadar creates a token. You put the Spike Hit on it and you sack it to Bubbling Cauldron. You can repeat that cycle turn after turn after turn until either your opponents deal with it or they just lose the game.
Just to get a lot of value out of it, essentially. Just a value engine that you are trying to make, and then one that you're trying to make pretty one-sided with the effects of it.
Yeah, for sure. Building the rest of the deck is based around those incremental effects of creating tokens, utilizing legendary creatures, so that way you're not negatively impacted by your own combo, just to grind out that advantage and just kind of take care of the rest of the board. And it works really well, and it causes some interesting conversations to happen.
I was going to say, it works really well, especially when players might not know what is about to happen, and it even works well, of course, against players who know what's about to happen and aren't maybe able to stop it because other things are going on. Yeah.
So that's just how you keep building on this core tenant idea of your original combo.
Absolutely. Really spicy. Absolutely love it. So I guess one final question for this one. What was the inspiration for that? You just literally saw a Spike Hit and you're like, there's got to be some weird stuff we can do with this. Is that how it kind of started? Yeah,
basically. I'm always on the lookout for cards that have like unique effects, and figuring out ways to build it, to crack it. Eddie, you and I always have good experiences with talking through this through chat. So
it's like, hey, here's this weird card. What can we do with this?
See, whenever I see a deck or like a card like this, usually this turns into like my obsession for the next few days. I find a card that I want to combo something with, and then I think of like all the possible combinations that you could possibly have
100%
and build this crazy deck.
And then you've got 300 cards and you got to cut it down.
That's usually the problem.
All right. Well, I absolutely love this one. I will try to remember to ask you to send me the deck list link for this one so I can put it in the description below. If you guys want to check that one out, it is an amazing deck. Really spicy. Let's take a quick break before we go through the other ones, though. And we are back. And now, let's talk about one of my janky kind of things that I decided to build around a while ago, and I really do love this deck. Although it can be... Long story short, let's talk about Deepglow Skate. Deepglow Skate is a 3/3 fish manta ray thingy for 4 and a blue. Enters the battlefield, double the number of each kind of counter on any number of target permanents. Typically, you'd see this maybe in a Super Friends type build, maybe something like that.
Plus one
counters.
Yep.
This is more so, no. This is all of the counter things and most of the janky counter things that we can get. And we're going to try to get this ETB again and again and again to just do some absolutely obnoxious things. And I didn't learn my lesson because my first lesson that I learned in Commander, because I built a Rishkar deck, is that dealing with +1 counters is annoying because it takes forever to just change them all over, especially when you keep doing this again and again and again. And then I build a deck that literally can get up to like 150 counters on something. I mean, more than that even. And then I have to find ways to actually get all those counters managed. So I literally need someone else managing the counters sometimes while I'm trying to do it. So
yeah, it's usually good for someone to scoop so that way they can.
So take one player out so they can manage your counters.
Yeah,
That's
works
the
well.
strategy. So this one is built around, so the commander is actually Escagata of the Tree, but unlike Eddie, everyone else, including myself, builds around the back. The Prismatic Bridge, a legendary enchantment for Wooburg. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards up your library to reveal a creature, planeswalker card, put that card on the battlefield, the rest of your library in random order. Basically, many players out there might build around, just a bunch of big creatures, a bunch of planeswalkers. I more so like to build around just one creature, typically.
A 3/3 fish.
A 3/3 fish. And so this will automatically grab Deepglow Skate because it is the only creature in the entire deck. So you get some things out there, you get some counters on things, and then you just start churning and burning again and again and again. Deepglow Skate ETB. You can use and abuse it with something like Cloud Shift. There's plenty of blink spells like this, obviously. You're in Wooburg, the best color combination, obviously. So you have all the blink spells, even on a budget. And then you can just keep blinking it, again, with all these blink spells, or also some weird things like Telgia Jalad Stylus, a very strange card that sees, like, no play. So, artifact for 1, tap a target permanent you own on the bottom of your library. Basically, you do that, then you get Deepglow Skate on the bottom of your library. And then the Prismatic Bridge says, hey, let's go bring that back up. Have you ever seen Telgia Stylus in any other decks? I guess maybe like a Cranko, not Cranko.
Grenzo.
Grenzo.
I'm sure Grenzo players are like, this card's being played somewhere else.
We've been playing this card forever. What are you talking about?
I think River's Song right now might play it, but otherwise.
That's true. How is this card 32 cents? It should be like a penny. I mean, like, can't see that much play.
Yeah.
When it comes to counters, of course, you can get ones like Everflowing Chalice, which is fantastic. And I mean, I've had players like literally look at the entire table and be like, no, that's the threat right there. Like the Everflowing Chalice, which has 80 counters on it, because obviously that's an absurd amount of mana. So yeah, that is obviously a giant threat. But you might also think that, something like Iceberg is a threat too. It's an enchantment for X blue when it comes into play. Put X ice counters on it, which is definitely a thing. Pay 3, put an ice counter on it. Pay 0, remove an ice counter from it to add 1, cost mana to your mana pool. Basically, hey, what we're going to do is just get any amount of ice counters on it. The more, the better to start, obviously. But hey, you know what? You're going to double it. You're going to double it again. And eventually get an absurd amount of ice counters that you can just remove. Yeah, who knew that an enchantment could just produce like the most mana at the table, essentially?
Yeah, no one thought that.
Nope.
No one thought that.
No one thought that. No one also thought to play Prisma Ray, a really janky card that actually helped me dominate a game a little while ago.
Yeah, we got destroyed in that game.
It's pretty funny. Enchantment for 5 mana, enters the battlefield, a crystal counter on for each color mana spent to cast it. Remove a crystal counter from it, tap target creature, and you can pay Wooburg to destroy 3, but you're probably never going to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to get probably 5 counters on this to start. You're going to get Deepglow Skate to come into play, then you're at 10. Then again, 20, then 40. And all of a sudden, you can tap down whatever creatures you want for the rest of the game, and no one else can do anything about it.
Yeah. No creature combat, no blocking, nothing happening.
It's pretty fantastic. And again, a card that sees no play because it's terrible. It's absolutely awful. All right.
I remember even trying to play this in draft when this came out, and that was just a horrible experience.
You're like, I can do. Oh no.
Yeah.
Tap down 3 creatures. Now what? But yeah, we can put our opponents out of their misery though with like Ominous Seas. This is a counter-based way to win. Whenever you draw a card, you get a foreshadow counter. You get all the different name counters with this kind of a deck. I love that.
Yeah.
On Omnis Seas, remove 8 of them. You get an 8/8 Kraken. You can also cycle away, but you're not going to do that. I think I got 8 Krakens out at once, I think is how I finished off that game with the Prism Array. So there you go. So yeah, you can just get an absurd amount. That's what, 64? There you go. So you can get an absurd amount of counters on your things. Your opponents might not think you're that big of a threat to start, but you're doing some really janky things. It can be kind of hard to stop again because once you get Deepglow Skate out, again, you've got avenues to protect it from things. Just blinking protects it. All these other things protect it. Putting it on the bottom of your library protects it. So a lot of ways to keep getting it back out again and again and again. And again, you create threats out of things that your opponents might not think are threats when you start off. You start off with just 1 counter and Everflowing Chalice. They're like, okay, cool, yeah, whatever. And all of a sudden it has 90 counters on it and they're in trouble. I guess it wouldn't go from 1. I have to go to 80, right? Math. But anyways.
Yeah. But the opportunity window to kind of disrupt all of this is so small because, when those permanents have only like 2 or 4 counters on them. It's like, I'm not going to worry about that right now. I understand what he's doing, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. But you know, then it gets to 8, then it gets to 16, and then it gets to, and you're like, okay, my opportunity for this was a while ago. I don't know why I didn't take it, but
it snowballs pretty quick. And yeah, and again,
crazy.
the opponents don't know kind of how many of those blink effects that you might have in your hand are ready to go.
Exactly.
Or, you know, essentially, and so they might not. They're like, okay, I'm fine. All of a sudden, you doubled, quadrupled, whatever 8 times something is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and it's really the Deepglow skate that you really do have to deal with, because oftentimes multiple of these cards are on the battlefield already that have the counter. So it's not like it's always like, oh, I can just remove the chalice. And then, you know, he's cut off from his game plan for a while. It's like, no, you usually do a good job of setting up like a lot of things out there at once, so that way really what we have to deal with is a Deepglow skate, and that's what you're better prepared to protect.
100%. And yeah, so it's a deck that definitely, none of these decks are perfect, especially when you build around like specific janky things. Not janky, I guess, but very specific cards. There are definitely ways to stop it, obviously, but also if someone doesn't know what's going on to start, then it can be a bit easier for you to pull off these really crazy kind of decks.
For sure.
So, So that is my first deck we'll talk about. Let's take a quick break, then we'll get into Alek's second deck. All right, and we are back, and this one's good. I mean, the other one was very good. This one's very good, though, too. And it does have a card that we were actually just talking about on our little break that is a favorite of mine, and I can't believe it's actually in a commander deck. It's pretty absurd. Go ahead.
Yeah. So another combo, and it's kind of more like a half of a combo, but something that I've always loved playing around with is Radiate, which is a 3 red instant that says choose target instant or sorcery spell that targets only a single permanent or player. And for each other permanent or player that spell could target, put a copy of the spell onto the stack. Each copy targets a different one of those permanents or players. And it has like a second half where it's actually recently printed a creature called Radiant Performer, which is also 3 red. It's a creature human wizard 2/2 and has flash, and it says when Radiant Performer enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, choose target spell or ability that targets only a single permanent or player. Copy that spell or ability for each other permanent or player the spell or ability could target, and then each copy targets a different one of those permanents or players. And so obviously these cards can kind of get crazy. And so like the original, I think some of the original intent behind some of these cards is like you copy a Terminate on the stack that then wipes the entire board.
I turned this into a board wipe.
Yeah.
Yay. And that's exactly what you're doing. That's all you're doing, right?
No, not at all. And so, you know, because of the way that this is worded, this has a lot of potential combos that work really well. You know, for example, you could do things like connect it with Fist of Flame, or basically anything that targets a permanent that allows you to draw a card, pumps a creature, etc., to, you know, make it really big, or like have a huge impact across the board. In fact, I know that you have a Nephilim deck that does something very similar. Yep. Where you just copy the ability or effect across, and you get like a lot of cards. You get your creatures that are massive. So it obviously has a lot of effects throughout.
That one's also Prismatic Bridge. I have 2 Prismatic Bridge decks.
We're not surprised.
5 color.
Yeah. But my particularly favorite targets for these Radiates happen to more be either steal effects or copy effects. So a couple of examples for those are Mythos of Iluna, which is a 2 blue sorcery that says create a token that's a copy of target permanent. It has an additional effect where if you pay red and a green for it as well, if the copy was a creature, it fights something. So there's that. Also Replication Technique, which is 4 blue and a sorcery. And it's got Demonstrate on its own, which is fine, but you don't really need that for this because, you know, again, you create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control, you radiate it, you're going to be copying all your permanents anyway. It's not a problem. And then like one example of a fun steal effect,
fun for you.
Steal effect is Catch and Release, which is a fused card. The catch is 1 blue and a red, and release is 4 red and a white. But the more relevant side for me is the catch side, which says gain control of target permanent until end of turn. Untap it, and it gains haste until end of turn.
So you're building basically a bigger insurrection where it's not just creatures, it's everything.
It's everything. I steal everything. Yeah.
And hopefully we haven't been like eating Cheetos. You're just like, just to have like all the food crumbs in here. You're like, yeah, everyone's bored.
Yeah,
Everyone's bored.
I just want them. Yeah, I want all.
Because that's what everyone's supposed to. When you play theft decks, you're supposed to be eating greasy food or like Cheeto fingers, that kind of stuff. You're supposed to do that, right?
Yeah. You put your fingers on everything.
That's what I do with my my Hofree Ghostforge deck. Just always make sure that you have Cheetos available for that. Not a sponsor.
And so like that's a fun combo. Those are fun things you can do. But like, how do you actually like build a deck that benefits from that? Like, what do you do to actually like win the game from that point? And the fun thing about this particular deck is there's lots of different ways of benefiting from that. My particular version uses landfall because since you're copying all permanents, you end up getting a lot of lands typically. So anything like Lotus Cobra gets you a lot of mana on that turn that you do that. But also things such as Retreat to Emeria just gives you like 1 million tokens if you want to do that. Even like Omnath Locus of Rage gives you 1 million of those 5/5 angry jelly beans.
Yep, played against that part.
Yeah, so landfall is a great way of getting additional benefit from that synergy, and there's just so many different landfall effects that you
like
can
the Cleansing Wildfire
choose.
I think you have on this list right now, right, where you just essentially replace all the lands.
Yeah, and that happens to be a another target for
and
this
draw
particular.
an absurd amount of cards.
Yeah, the Radiate is not only do you get replace all the lands in play that can trigger those landfall effects, but then you happen to draw just a ton of cards because not only are you hitting your own lands, but you're hitting your opponent's lands too.
And if they don't have enough basics, that's their problem.
Yeah, so it can be a little bit of that mass land destruction.
No, you're replacing them. It's fine.
Yeah,
no one's complained about a Ghost Quarter before.
It's testing your opponent's deck building.
Exactly.
Right.
Hopefully they don't have a Hermit Druid in their
Play
deck.
basics. Play budget.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's just teaching them a lesson on what they need to do.
Yes. But also some elements of Magecraft from the Strixhaven sets really benefit these copy spell abilities by you can do something like Leonin Lightscribe, which is 1 and a white cat cleric for 2/2 that has the Magecraft ability where whenever you cast a copy an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. So if you already have a little bit of a board, your creatures just get absolutely massive just because
if you're targeting every single permanent in play, it's like
conservatively
okay, plus
speaking,
40 +40. Yeah.
Yeah.
Conservatively speaking, +40 +40.
a small
for my
creature
turn
will
too.
one-shot your opponents. Yeah. It's no
Any
problem.
tiny creature, does not matter.
Yeah, or like kind of like the Lotus Cobra element from the landfall, Stormkiln Artist, 4 red, creature dwarf shaman for 2 and 2 again. But where it gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control, but the more important part is Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a treasure.
I still
token.
can't believe that's an uncommon. Number one, number two. It's finally budget friendly.
It
again.
is finally
under
budget,
$1.
We made it.
Woohoo! I mean, I'm like, yay! It's budget friendly. Oh wait, that means it's good that I can put it in my decks if I want, but that means that like it's got to be in more decks out there too. So
and it's not good for the rest of us.
It's not good for everyone.
So those are just like some ways that are really cool to take advantage of copying all those spells. But kind of like what we alluded to at the beginning of this section, Niv Magus Elemental plays a unique role in this particular deck.
I love this card. So janky.
So this is an elemental creature, 1/2 that you pay for with a filter blue-red. I think that's the way you say it.
Yeah, blue. Red.
But it has a very unique ability that says you exile an instant or sorcery spell you control. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on Niv Magus Elemental.
Very strange.
Very interesting, yeah. So, like, sure, we've got a lot of other effects that will pump creatures in this kind of build. So, that particular element is not always the most relevant. Unless, for example, you're trying to fling the Niv Magus Elemental at your opponent. But really what this is it allows you to pick and choose which spells that you've copied off of your Radiate effect to resolve. So, for example, if you're choosing to cast Cleansing Wildfire on your own lands, and there's some lands that maybe you don't want to get rid of, you just exile that particular copy that's
you literally have like
land.
40 spells in the air essentially, and you're like, okay, these are all going to resolve. I don't like that one though because that's targeting my Guy's Cradle. Not that you have Guy's Cradle there, but I don't like that, so I'm going to get rid of that one, get 2 counters on my Niv Magus Elemental. And yeah, just happen to just get an extra benefit for doing that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in short, there's a lot of different ways of benefiting off of this kind of combo. But, I just appreciate that it allows us to play more unique spells and unique abilities and unique creatures that you may not see otherwise, and just kind of always leads to very fun board states, even if it can be a little bit crazy trying to put out all those copy tokens onto the battlefield. That gets a little crazy.
Again, we talked about this earlier. That's why you take one player out, and then it's their job to manage tokens.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Next time I'll do that for you, and you can just
Perfect.
create all those tokens for me. I appreciate it.
I swing my 40/40 Nemagus Elemental at you. You're gone, Mitch. Okay,
Yes.
Now your turn to actually help me out and just manage my board.
Yeah, we'll trade it off. This will be great.
Sounds good to me. Well, absolutely, I love that build. The second that I saw this craziness going on with the first night you played against me, I just was like, what is this? What is this amazing obnoxiousness that just utilizes, again, it breaks the rules of Magic and utilizes cards like the Magus Elemental, which is a card that, again, we were talking about just like literally like when I got reintroduced to Magic years and years and years ago, like someone was at LGS. Thank you. I do not remember your name. It was like 10 years ago. Thank you so much. But it gave me like just a couple of just miscellaneous rares, and some of them were Magus Elemental, and I was like, what is this? What is this? And seeing this actually in Commander and actually work in a deck in such a cool way, I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that one. All right, one more deck that we're going to talk about, my last one. Before that, a quick break. And we're back, and the final deck I want to bring up is my Lich's Mastery deck. And this is just, again, I think the main thing is like you gotta, when it comes to like making unique decks, essentially, I think if you want to make a unique deck, one good way to do it is like, okay, I found a unique card that is just out there. It does this crazy, weird thing that doesn't fit in like many decks at all. But if you can build around it and really synergize it, you can do some absolutely crazy things. Like, again, Spike It, Radiate, with Radiate Performer now as well. I mean, Deepglow Skate works in a lot of different Commander decks, actually, but in this specific one, it works a different way. Lich's Mastery is just a card that's just very strange. A legendary enchantment with hexproof that costs 3 black, black, black. You can't lose the game.
Yay!
Lovely! Yay! I mean, that's the goal, right? You know,
Yeah.
I want to win, but also I don't want to lose. Whenever you gain life, draw that many cards. All good things so far.
Perfect.
Let's just stop there.
Yeah.
Whenever you lose life for each one life you lost, exile a permanent you control a card from your hand or graveyard. So that's not great. But also on top of that, whenever it leaves the battlefield, you kind of lose the game.
Oh.
Now, some decks out there, and we might talk about one in another episode at some point, might actually utilize this in a very cool way to essentially maybe donate it and then maybe just wipe out all enchantments. And that's a way to take a player out. This one, though, actually works with it in play and essentially, hey, I want to get this in play and I want to do some really, really dumb things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And personally, I like this a lot better. This is so much fun to watch happen.
I mean, I don't think I've actually won with this one. I've gotten so close so many times, but I don't think I've ever won with this one. I've done some crazy things with it, but I don't think I've won. The commander for this deck is Sisay Weatherlight Captain, +1/+1 for each color among other legendary permanents you control. Pay Wooburg. Go search life for a legendary permanent card with convert mana cost less than power. Put on the battlefield, then shuffle. Sisay is a legend tutor, essentially, and essentially the Lich's Mastery is obviously legendary. So as long as you get 7 power to Sisay, which is very easy to do, then you can essentially go, just tutor that out whenever you need. So tutor it out, get it in play. Don't do it too early because, if you start losing life, you start losing things, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah. It's very much pick your spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Find the exact spot, thread the needle. So the reason actually I built this deck, I was like, okay, Lich's Mastery, like, I love that card, absolutely. And some other cards started spinning around in my head, essentially, like, okay, I really like those free discard outlets. I absolutely love free discard outlets. Aila's Influence is one that I probably should put on this list because I absolutely love that one. The one that works technically better in this deck, though, is Zombie Infestation, and I love this card. Discard any 2 cards, make a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So what you're going to be doing, essentially, is trying to gain life by discarding cards and making a token. Now, how can we do that? Well, there's a couple of ways, and one is an incredibly janky card that sees absolutely no play anywhere, ever. So Confessor, actually, I believe this one actually saved me in a game separate. I mean, I wasn't gaining life because myself. I think they were actually wheeling again and again and again. Everyone else was getting taken out, but I kept getting life. So that's kind of how it worked, essentially. Like, I think they have a pinging effect that was going on. Yep. Regardless, whenever a player discards a card from their hand, you may gain 1 life. So basically, I'm discarding 2 cards, making a 2/2 zombie. I gain 2 life. When I gain 2 life, I draw 2 cards, thanks to Lich's Mastery. You see where this is going. We're also going to have other gain life effects, though, like Soul's Attendant, essentially. Whenever another creature in his battlefield under control control, or not your control. I slipped up right there because I'm used to that. With many of them are under your control. Souls of 10, the Soul Sisters are not. Any creature on this battlefield, you gain 1 life. So essentially, if your opponents are doing it, great, cool. But yeah, if you've got more and more of these Souls Attendant type cards, gaining a certain amount of life when you're just discarding things with your Zombie Infestation, Ayula's Influence, whatever it's going to be, drawing up certain amount of cards, draw through your entire library, and yeah, just do some crazy things. And of course, yeah, we're not going to be done with it. We're not going to just end it. We're going to be doing it over and over again. Elixir of Immortality. Pay 2 tap, you gain 5 life. So let's draw 5 cards right there, which is just lovely. Yeah. And also shuffle it in your graveyard, into your library, and do it again. And then again. And then again, and everyone's having a great time. And of course, yeah, you've got ways to give haste, to swing with your creatures right away, and actually win. So I think there's like Seismic Assault in there too, or Impact Tremor. Like,
sure.
There's ways to take your opponents out and put them out of their misery, but you gotta let them see the cool thing that you built first, right?
Yeah, that's the whole point of making commander decks, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's showing how clever you are. I think I did an entire episode where I talked about like how one of the things I've learned throughout Commander is that, at least for players like us, I think it's, and I don't want to speak for you, but it's like basically I'm building a Commander deck to show you how clever I can be. I do not care that much about winning. I care about me doing my thing to show you that I was clever.
Yeah, I can put these things together in such a way that it makes me look like a genius.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
Watch me spin my wheels and do absolutely nothing. I've got a giant board of zombies, but pass turn. Sorry, I didn't have haste.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Captive audience and you're a performer.
That's why I like Storm so much. They have to watch. Until they just concede and then leave, and then
then you're alone.
Then you're alone. And with that, another break. All right, Alek, thank you so much for joining me today and showing off some of your amazing unique decks.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's been fun to share with you all too.
It has been fun, and to reminisce about Nimmagus Elemental and crazy cards, like, and just learning about, again. I don't think I've ever seen you play what are those two, like the 2 enchantments that like. They're the same name, can't cast things for exile. Cornered Market and Bazaar of Wonders. Again, like even on episodes like this, again, like I put this slides together essentially. I put this together and I was just like, I was pasting things in, and then it just surprised me because I was like, I didn't recognize those names. I didn't realize I didn't recognize those names, and when I saw the picture, I'm like, I've never seen this card before. Just again, that's the other thing about these unique decks is that you can just like, again, when you're building on a very specific thing that literally doesn't see play anywhere, and you're going very, very specific with it, you can just use some unique cards with it that, again, like happen to work really well. Yeah.
It's more of a question of like, how are we using our time for finding cards like this?
That's true. That's true. Oh my gosh, the Scryfall searches.
Oh dear. Thank God we have Eddie.
Yes, exactly. Well, I will try my best to remember to put links in the description below to all of these decks if you want to check them out. Thank you again for joining today.
Thanks for having me.
And as always, thanks again, and still blame Eddie in the comments below.
Blame Eddie for sure.
This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.